Goodness Cheesh. My name is Maria Williams, and I always like to do my Tlingit, my traditional Tlingit introduction. Maria Shanpla Williams, Yuhat Duasak, Yel Nak Hatsati, Deshita Nak Hatsati, Dekluwedi Yeti Ayahat, Carcross Tagish First Nations, and Atlan Ayahat, Anchorage Hatchati. My name is Maria Shanpla Williams. Shanpla is my Tlingit name, and I am of the Raven Moiety. Yale is the Tlingit word for raven. I'm of the Deshiton or the Beaver clan, and I'm a child of the killer whale or the Moiety, and that's my father's people. So we inherit all of our clans on our mother's side, but we always acknowledge our fathers by saying, I am a child of. So, and that ties in very well with a game that, or an exercise that I developed. The Tlingit Society is one of the societies that's in Moiety. The Moiety, of course, is a derivative of the French word half. And so in traditional Tlingit society, everyone was either a raven or an eagle, and you inherited your moiety from your mother's side. And I'm a raven, and so I have a raven bracelet, several raven bracelets, raven rings. My blanket would have a raven on it. My vest has a raven on it, and so that's my moiety. It would be the equivalent of if everyone was either a Smith or a Jones. You're one or the other, and a Smith always marries a Jones, and a Jones always marries a Smith. So in this regard, ravens marry eagles, and eagles marry ravens. So ravens don't marry ravens, eagles don't marry eagles. But to make things a little more complicated, not only are there the moieties, but there's also a whole bunch of different clans. And so when I did this clan exercise, I did it to try and teach my students a little bit of what the traditional clan system was like. I grew up hearing a lot about it because it's really no longer in practice after about World War maybe II. Everyone knows their clan and their moiety and their house group, but everyone used to live in traditional, very large clan houses. And so much of the Tlingit Society and Protocol was based on the memberships, and that has changed a lot. So I do this as a kind of an exercise to show my students how it operated on a very basic level. But so you have your moieties, and under each moiety there were specific clans. So for example, I mentioned in my introduction, I'm a Deshiton, so I'm a Beaver. That's one of the clans that can fall under Raven. There's also Kiksauti, there's many of them, it's just a frog. And all of them are affiliated with animals. In their ancient stories, like the story of the Deshiton, it's the origins of all of these clans go back to a time when animals and people could actually talk to one another. And so there was a big flood, and the Beaver people actually helped humans, and there was some intermarriage, and that's the origin, that is our clan origin story for the Deshiton. And the same thing with all of them. Under Eagle, my father, I mentioned I'm a child of, and he was a killer whale or Moiety. That's one of the many possible. And here's Kagwantan, which is one of the bear clans. So there's a myriad, there's many lists of possible clans under either Eagle or Raven. All of the clans are affiliated with these founding ancestors, which are the animal spirits. They're all beautiful, unique stories. They have origin songs that go along with it. I would say that's probably the more sacred repertoire of the clan origin songs. But to complicate things further, because Tlingit's like complications, the big houses all had different names as well. The houses had poetic names. Sometimes it was the moon house, the seaweed house. They were very poetic, and they also had their own stories of how they originated. Of course, usually within not as old as the clans. However, everyone that was born whose mother was from one of those clans, you had your moiety, you had your clan, and then your house. And so with the game, the houses are a lot more sensitive culturally, and so I didn't want to start giving people assignments of houses since those are very sensitively held. And so usually what I do is, like for example, when I teach at the University of New Mexico, then I get them like the administration building, the science building. I kind of assign buildings on campuses. But since I'm in Washington, D.C., I did here's the Senate building. Okay, that's your house. And the word hit, of course, is the Tlingit word for house. And so I had devised a bunch of these possible houses. The High Center, which is in New York, hit. the National Museum of Natural History. And so in the game, so everyone is assigned a moiety, everyone gets a clan, and then under these are assigned different houses, and so then everyone has to sit with their group, and then we devise a couple of exercises, for example, a politically arranged marriage, and I will say my father was the product of a politically arranged marriage. They were actually common up until about the 1920s, 1930s. They're, of course, no longer practiced, and so we'll do a politically arranged marriage, and so maybe a Deshitan, of course, has to marry a Kagwantan, but then they have to pick from which house to which house. And the young lady, even though it's everything goes through the mother side, it's a matrilineal society, when the young girl gets married, she actually moves to her husband's house. And so when her children come of age, if it's a young man, that young man, when he's maybe 10 or 11, he moves back to his mother's house, which is truly his clan house, and there he remains. And he's taught by his mother's brothers, his real clan uncles, fishing, hunting, all of the songs and dances of that particular house. And her daughters, when they come of age, they in turn have to move to the house of their husbands. For example, if there was a marriage between a raven and an eagle, one group would host the other, and all of the ravens would be the hosts, and the eagles would come. They'd feed them all, they'd give them gifts, they'd sing for them. Traditionally, they could last several days. Today they last one long day. The kuik, or the potlatches, which is kind of the Western word for those gatherings. So the reciprocity system, you can, when you see it even today, definitely one group is always hosting the other, and there's an exchange of goods, and there's a wonderful balance. So it sounds a little complicated, but it's a really fun game to play, and my students always enjoy it. And then we have fun things like a wedding, and then a child is born, and we go through these little kind of interactive venues. So the kids have fun with it because they get to actually think about what their house would be like. They have to do a list of describing it, and where is it located? Does it have a lot of resources? If they were to do a politically arranged marriage strategically, which house should they ally with? Should they ally with a house that has a lot of warriors so they're protected? Should they ally with a house that has a really great subsistence fishing area? Should they ally with a neighboring village that they're trying to secure a trade route with? So I get them to kind of think strategically about those and creatively, and they have a little fun. And there's a lot of crests. All of them have crests, like the raven crest, the Deshitan or beaver. These are several iterations, and you can tell the beaver by the hatched tail, and of course the teeth, the frog, and there's a whole bunch of these, and eagle. And the Tlingit word for eagle is chak, and raven is yel. And then the bear would probably fall under the eagle side as well. So anyway, that's my little exercise. It's lots of fun to play it. And the more people you have, the better. I will say that.